Welcome, Cancer, to your high voltage Mars square Pluto deep dive video from the 22nd to the 30th of May, one of astrology's most highly charged, volatile, and intense planetary influences perfects on the 26th, with Mars exactly at 90 degrees in a tense square to Pluto. On the screen is the event chart of that exact moment from a Cancerian viewpoint. By the end of the video, I'm going to unpack this for you. You'll have a clearer understanding of how to navigate this period through to the end of May as far as your energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. Mars and Pluto have not been in a square for 2 years. This event won't be repeated for another 18 months. Mars is the ruler of two zodiac signs, of Aries and of Scorpio. Pluto is the higher octave ruler of Scorpio. So the two ruling planets, the co-regents of Scorpio, are at each other's celestial throats. So what's the significance? Well, Mars's rulership through of Aries is very much about action, initiation, our sense of identity, our ego. But it can also be where we assert ourselves, can be dramatic, a risk taker, can be perhaps a little quick to be irritated and frustrated, and at the most extreme it can be about all out anger and war. Mars's rulership of Scorpio, much more subterranean. Its energy can suddenly show itself, not so obvious at all, but that can be at times somewhat controlling, maybe a bit possessive, but also very much into instant gratification. So what about Pluto? Well, Pluto is the planet of the collective, but in the sign of Aquarius, very much us all collectively. But Pluto's rulership of the sign of Scorpio, very much about transformation, can be about obsession, can be about things that come to a close but are then rebirthed. So it can be a planet very much to do with outcomes and consequences. But in the sign of Aquarius, Pluto, for you personally, is in the eighth house, which has an echo of that Scorpionic energy. It's deep. It may be to do with coming to terms with very, very powerfully rooted old emotional energies. It may be that you've been analyzing very penetratively deep within you. You may be releasing. You may be becoming more involved, more invested. You could feel very, very strongly about all sorts of things at the present time, including even your long-term finances. Now, ironically, Mars is in the sign of Taurus, which is about everyday finances. But for you, is in the 11th house, which has an Aquarius vibration. But Mars in Taurus is steadier, more patient than its rulership of Aries. It has an appreciation of good, solid foundations. It likes continuity. It's much more conscious of security, much more aware of maintaining what is valuable. That can be financially, can be possessions. It can have a desire to seek greater recognition for its value and worth. But for you, the 11th house is actually your long-term plan. It's about your friendships. It can be about your higher purpose. Now, Mars can be needing of attention, but in the 11th house, it has the happy knack of enabling us to focus on what we need to do as individuals, but still networking and collaborating with others. If you are aligning with people at the moment that you get on really well with, Mars is linked to Venus, the ruler of the sign of Taurus, so there's a mutual receptivity, is very positive indeed. But if you're in a group dynamic at the present time where there is some deep politics, maybe you're not completely sure of some of the people in a social circle. Maybe there's an atmosphere. Maybe it feels like someone's quite controlling or possessive or leverages their affection in some kind of way. That can be something that you really resist, not least because Venus in your sign, along with Jupiter, but Venus particularly, is in a quincunx with Pluto. So, as much as Pluto can be where we're all in, or where we're wanting to transform ourselves and leave a situation, Venus's clash with Pluto could be making you very conscious of an attraction at the moment that may be proving irresistible, but you may know is not really right for your longer term. But it may be very hard not to still get involved in that situation. And that's where the collective in the sign of Gemini is so fascinating for you personally. That 12th house energy is about reflection. It can be about the past. Uranus can be a freedom seeker, but it can also separate us from situations which no longer serve our greater good. And it just so happens, despite the heavy weather of Mars and Pluto, which is a celestial arm wrestle, it's about who's going to dominate at some level. What we do have in an airy way, even though they're located all in water houses, is the sun is in a trine with Pluto in Gemini, and the moon in the fourth house, very Cancerian like, in a tremendous trine with Pluto back to the sun. So if you are wanted to think or discuss about your emotional situation, in perhaps a bit more of a detached way, which is, of course, not easy, particularly for a water sign. If you're having counseling, you're working on your personal development, you're journaling, you're really trying to understand the dynamics of your deep past and use the detachment of the sign of Aquarius to unlock a greater understanding of what's really meaning for you, you could liberate your future, and that will increase your energy, and Mars can help your thrust forwards. However, we just need to be mindful that you do have Neptune right at the top of your chart at the moment. So, in other words, it's a Neptune dominant event, and therefore that creates a rather uh, subtle atmospheric dimension. It could give you quite the desire to be much more artistic and soul-led in what you're doing. And if Pluto for you is showing up in terms of holding on or being fearful of losing a financial lifeline that you see at the moment, that could be affecting your sense of future hope. The 11th house can be very much about higher hopes. So Neptune could be creating some uncertainty, but it could be creating some opportunity. It too is in a delicious link with the sun. So what you're quietly contemplating can be very important, but look at Saturn at the top of your chart too, in a opposition to the moon, your ruler. And they in turn link back in a T square to Venus. So whatever you may be visualizing at the moment as being your ideal, it is possible, but that 12th house energy suggests certainly a thinking, reflective, discussive pause. Analyzing your emotions is part of this event, but you could be locked into some big drama. Do I stick with what I have at the moment? Maybe that intimate relationship, maybe that financial income, maybe a role in terms of your professional situation. But if it's really highly charged with lots of heavy energy that gets you down, you may have some big decisions to make before the end of May. Whether you will reach a binding decision is another matter, because like all Plutonian energies, it could be more of a process as you become much more conscious of what really feels right for you. There is one thing in this chart that I think is really strong for you personally to levitate some of that heaviness, and it's the North Node. The North Node's in your sister water sign of Pisces, and that's asking you to trust your instincts, particularly in terms of your higher values. And that's actually in a delicious link with Mars. And also, it's not in a bad one with Pluto, it's in a semi sextile. And so, if you think or try to decipher whatever it is that is being resisted because of the fixed energy of both planetary positions, or through fearfulness, or because you feel obliged, or you feel someone has some kind of hold over you. If you can trust the process of what really feels right for you at a more elevated level, that can help you. But we do have the sun in a T square with the nodal axis. So important, really, maybe something around your psychology is going to have an impact on your thinking and also what you discuss. And that could help to actually suddenly liberate yourself from something that does feel a bit stuck. So you can see very, very powerful stuff. But that grand air trine does give you a lot of opportunity to analyze what to do. The North Node is really urging you to trust your instincts. The Sun being in the 12th house can be a bit challenging because it's where we perhaps feel more vulnerable. We're stepping back. We're not hearing from other people so much. We might fear, for example, that in some kind of team or group situation, we've been ostracized with that 12th house energy, but just trust the process. And when we get to the summer solstice and the sun moves into your sign, and we also have on the 9th of June a wonderful Venus Jupiter conjunction, and then towards the end of June, we have a wonderful Mars Jupiter sextile, you're really going to make sense of what you may be trying to grapple with or release at this particular time. I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next. But just to say, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscope reports. It's now three for the price of one. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report. Helps you to get an understanding of the patterns that have played out in your life so far, a more intimate understanding, and how to work with that energy future forwards in a more effective way. Free, your 12 months transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis. Unless your North Node in your natal chart is late in Pisces or early in Aries, your draconic chart can look very different indeed. It helps us to look at life, ourselves, and astrology in a very different way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast, that's on the screen. If you've yet to watch your Gemini 1 month Gemini season 1 month video on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see the link below. I work with people the world over. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, please do so now and get the early morning celestial pit stop. So to summarize, I think you could be grappling with something at the moment that feels heavy. And certainly Mars and the North Node are urging you really to trust the people you can really count on, but most of all, trust yourself in terms of your higher purpose. If you are doing something at the moment that's quite mundane, but well paid, but don't enjoy, that can be a conflict. If you're in a group situation, there could be some heavy politics. Around a romantic situation, you could be tempted by someone at the moment you know is not good for you, and it could be a friend. It may be that an old flame is coming to mind or someone you used to work with. If, however, you're in an ongoing relationship which is going pretty well, I think one of the things you could enjoy with a partner at the moment is actually retreating a little bit, getting into nature, or doing something that's very mentally stimulating, but also quite quiet. Uh, I think that can be very reviving. And as far as your financial situation is concerned, that eighth house energy of Pluto could give you a big decision to make. But Pluto's also in a very strong link with Neptune. So again, if you trust your instincts, that can give you the right kind of outcome. But as ever with Pluto, something that you have at the moment may need to make way in order to get something that's truly right for you. So it's all about that soul purpose. As far as your energy is concerned, I think Saturn being in an opposition with the moon is a bit testing. So if there is a lot of pressure at work, I think that could be showing up and lowering your vitality and perhaps even your immune system a little bit. But there's something about this situation at the moment that I feel is about preparation. You're not really at the moment when the rocket takes off, but you're certainly investigating all the possibilities of just how much fuel it needs and the direction it's going to take, and also what the crew members are going to be to man or to crew the craft. So all of those things are in the mix at the present time for you. Thank you so much for joining me, Cancer. All the best and goodbye for now.